There's a road that travelers rarely find on purpose. It doesn't appear on maps, and its stones seem to shift every time someone tries to trace them. This path only appears when someone grows quiet enough inside to hear their own hopes, rustling like leaves in the wind. Along this road, in a valley that breathes mist and moonlight, lives an old man known only as the investor of invisible seeds. No one knows his real name. People who meet him say he speaks softly, as if not to disturb the earth. Some say he's ageless, others say simply tired in a peaceful sort of way, like someone who's lived many lives but learned how to carry them lightly. Every morning, he walks out onto his land acres of fields stretching across the valleyette. Nothing appears to grow there. No crops, no orchards, just soft soil unmarked by rows or fences, glowing faintly under the rising sun. It is said he plants seeds no one can see, not seeds of fruit or flowers, but seeds of something deeper, things that nourish the heart, not the stomach. Patience, courage, forgiveness, clarity, hope, trust, self-worth. Love that doesn't burn out, rest that doesn't guilt you. Dreams that invite you to be ready when they arrive. These are the seeds he invests in. He plants them for anyone who wanders into the valley with a quiet ache in their chest. For those who feel like they've been walking in circles. For those exhausted by trying to become someone else. And most of all, for those who have forgotten that growth can be gentle. On a late afternoon touched by golden light, a traveler named Alara found herself entering the valley. Her shoulders were hunched, her heart heavy. She had been wandering for years, not the adventurous kind, but the drifting kind, the kind that begins when you lose track of the thread that once pulled you forward. Her feet hurt, though she couldn't remember when they had last truly danced or walked anywhere with joy. She felt like a burden to herself, carrying worries like stones in her pockets. She didn't know where she was going, but the valley welcomed her anyway. As she walked, her breath grew softer. She eventually noticed something unusual. Though the fields looked empty, she felt she was walking beside something quietly alive. A hum beneath her feet, a warmth brushing against her thoughts. Then she saw him, the old man, kneeling in the dirt, his fingers buried in soil that didn't look like it held anything at all. He looked up, not startled, but as if he'd been expecting her. "Long journey?" he asked, his voice like the hush of pages turning. Alara hesitated. These days, she hesitated with everything. "Yes," she finally whispered. The man nodded, stood with a patient slowness, and brushed his hands together. "You've arrived at the right hour. The soil listens best at dusk." Alara blinked, unsure what that meant and too tired to question it. "What are you planting?" she asked. The old man smiled, the lines on his face deepening in a way that felt comforting. "Invisible seeds." Aside simply, Alara glanced over the field. "But, there's nothing there." He nodded. Most people say the same, until they're ready to see. She wanted to roll her eyes, but the valley's calm softened the impulse. "And what grows from invisible seeds? What you need," he said. "Not always what you want, but always what you truly need." Alara crossed her arms, more to hold on to herself than out of defensiveness. "And what if I don't know what I need?" The man smiled gently. "That," he said, "is exactly when the seeds work best." He walked to a nearby stump, where a small pouch lay open, filled with nothing, as far as Alara could see. He took a pinch of the invisible contents and held his hand out to her. "This," he said, "is a seed of rest." Alara frowned. "Rest? I don't need rest. I need direction. Purpose. Clarity." The man gave her a kind look that unraveled a knot in her chest. "Rest," he said, "is often the seed that allows the others to grow." Before she could argue, he placed the invisible seed in her palm. She didn't feel anything exactly. But she also didn't feel nothing. There was a warmth, barely there, like the memory of someone holding her hand long ago. "What do I do with it?" she asked. "Plant it," he said. "In the soil here, or in the soil of your life. Either way, it will grow." Alara knelt, unsure why she was following his instructions, yet she felt safer here than she had in months. She pressed her fingers into the soft earth, placed the invisible seed down gently, and covered it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, as she exhaled, the air shimmered faintly like heat rising from sand. She gasped and looked at the old man. A only nodded its taking root. "What will it become?" she whispered. "That depends on whether you allow it to." Alara swallowed. "Allow what?" "Slowness," he said. "Comfort. Breathing space. The kind of gentleness that lets clarity enter later, when the mind is not so bruised." Alara sat back on her heels. Her throat tightened with the unexpected feeling of being understood. "I don't know how to do that," she admitted softly. The man took another invisible seed from the pouch. "This one," he said, "is patience." She almost left a thin, tired sound. "Patience is something I've never been good at." "Patience," the man said, "is not something to be good at. It is something to grow." He placed the seed in her hand. Alada stared at the nothingness in her palm. "What if I lose it?" "You can't," he said. "Things that matter will always return to you, even if you try to throw them away." She planted the second seed. This time, the shimmer was a little brighter. The old man sat beside her on the earth with a sigh of contentment. "You've been carrying a heavy season," he said quietly. "Invisible things weigh the most." Alara's breath caught. No one had named the weight she carried, the silent anxieties, the unfinished dreams, the pressure to have figured everything out by now. "How did you know? People who find this valley," A sighed gently, "are always carrying more than they admit." Alara looked across the empty fields. "Are there others here?" There were. Many. Some stay for a night. Some for years. Some come back when life pulls them too tightly. "And what about you?" she asked. "Why are you here?" He smiled, gazing at the horizon. "I came here once as a young man, filled with noise, chasing things I thought were important. I planted my first seed by accident, and when it grew, I stayed to learn the rest." "What grew?" she asked. The old man touched the earth. "Peace," he said simply. "Not all at once, but enough to carry." She raised her knees, resting her arms on them. "Do you ever regret staying here, away from the world?" He chuckled softly. "Child, the world is loud, but meaning is quiet. I chose the place where I could hear it best." He reached into the pouch again. "This," he said, placing another invisible seed in her palm, "is clarity." Her breath trembled. "I've been chasing clarity for years." "Then stop chasing," he said. "Clarity is not something you run toward. It's something that grows when you've stopped running." Alara closed her hand around the seed. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel lost. Not found, but not lost either. She planted it. The shimmer glowed a little stronger. Deep. "Deman Rose." "Come," he said. "There's a fire by the cottage. You should rest." She followed him. Behind them, in the quiet soil, 3 invisible seeds warmed, beginning their slow, patient growth. The cottage was small, its walls softened by silver vines. When the old man opened the door, warmth spilled out and wrapped around Alara like a blanket she didn't know she needed. Inside, books were stacked in uneven towers and a kettle murmured on the stove. He gestured for her to sit near the fire. "You look like someone who hasn't rested in a long while," he said. Alara sank onto a cushion, her limbs aching with relief. "I can't remember when I truly did." The man sat across from her. "Tell me," he said. "Why were you wondering, staring at the flames?" She unlocked a truth she'd been holding too tightly. "I've been trying to become someone," she whispered. "Someone successful. Someone stable. Someone I could be proud of. But no matter what I did, it all felt like noise." Her voice cracked with exhaustion. "I chased goals that didn't fit me. I worked until I burned out. And when nothing made sense anymore, I just walk. Hawaii." The man let her words settle in the warm light. "Most people," he said softly. spend years trying to become someone, but very few spend time becoming themselves. Elara looked up. What if I don't know who that is? That, he said, is why seeds exist. He retrieved the small pouch. There are seeds for each ache in your heart, every hatchet. This is a seed of forgiveness. Not for others, this one is for yourself. Elara stared at her hands. I don't know if I deserve that. Forgiveness, he said gently, is not something you earn. It's something you allow. He placed the invisible seed in her palm. It felt heavier, like a small stone warmed by sunlight. She planted it near the cottage door. The man continued. This seed is for boundaries. The quiet strength to say no. To rest without guilt. To stop handing out pieces of yourself you cannot afford to lose. I've never been good at boundaries, she admitted. That is because you learned to survive without them, he replied. But now, you are learning to live. She planted the seed. The shimmer expanded gently. And this one, he said, taking a third seed, is for trust. Trust in what? In the slow work of becoming? She closed her eyes, planted it, and watched the shimmer pulse like a heartbeat. Will they grow? She asked. He nodded. Every seed grows, given time. And if I leave, what happens then? He smiled. They go with you. Their roots follow your steps. Growth does not depend on staying here. It depends on remembering what you planted. Elara felt something loosen in her chest. A beginning. She sat by the fire again as the man poured her a cup of tea. Sleep here tonight, he said. The valley watches over those who rest. She lay on a soft mat near the fire. As she drifted off, she heard the man's low voice. Remember this, growth is not loud. Transformation is not dramatic. Seeds sprout in silence. So do you. Elara woke at dawn. Outside, the old man was tending the soil where she had planted her seeds. The shimmering impressions glowed faintly. They've taken well, he said. What happens next? She asked. Next, you walk your life again with gentleness, and every time you forget what you planted, the seeds will remind you. He stood and brushed off his hands. Before you go, plant one more. He held out a final, invisible seed. What is this one? She whispered. Self-worth, he answered. The rarest, and the most patient. Her eyes watered as she held the seed. She planted it slowly. When she covered it with soil, the shimmer rose bright, spreading like a small sunrise. Thank you, she whispered. The man bowed his head. Grow well. She turned toward the road. The valley seemed different, now not a resting place, but a beginning, a gentle invitation to rebuild from the inside out. As she walked away, she felt something she hadn't in years. Not certainty, but readiness. And somewhere behind her, the invisible seeds she planted pulsed, softly sending their roots after her, quietly growing. The investor of invisible seeds watched her go, smiling, knowing she would return one day not because she was lost, but because she would want to see how far she had grown. And as the sun rose, the fields shimmered faintly, alive with the silent, patient work of invisible seeds. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tales of quiet growth and gentle reminders. See you next time.